Please let me stay your wife, she pleaded. It was a Friday morning when my wife calmly told me something that shook me to my core. She said she was going out after work that night and might not return until the next day. Her tone was steady, almost rehearsed, and I could tell she thought carefully about what she was going to say. She assured me she still loved me, but her distant, wandering gaze said otherwise. This was the first time I'd faced something I'd only seen in movies, read in books, or heard about from others: marital infidelity. I stood there, stunned, as she explained her reasoning. She claimed I was strong enough to handle it, that life was too short, and that she hadn't had the chance to explore before we got married. She argued that people aren't meant to be monogamous, and that society's rules about love are too rigid. She promised she'd be more attentive to my needs if I allowed her this freedom. Each pause in her speech seemed to fuel her confidence as she continued, using every cliché imaginable. She said she had the right to do whatever she wanted with her body, that she deserved to experience all the pleasures life had to offer. She wasn't looking for deep connections or financial stability, just physical experiences. Let me be clear, I am not insecure about myself. I am intelligent, wealthy, and in good physical shape. My wife had never complained about our life before, so when she finished her speech, I felt a wave of anger rise in me. I could have yelled. I could have reacted with rage, like a wild beast overcome by fury. But I remembered the lessons I'd learned from literature, particularly from Herman Melville's stories. Anger and obsession only lead to destruction. When she asked me to kiss her goodbye, I calmly said, "I'd rather not." Her reaction was dramatic. Her jaw dropped in shock, and she looked utterly horrified. I could have launched into a passionate argument about morality, loyalty, and the vows we'd made. I could have expressed my love or even threatened her with consequences. But instead, I chose self-control. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in holding back, in maintaining control when emotions threaten to overwhelm you. In that moment, I found a strange comfort in my response. My simple refusal, "I'd rather not," was my way of taking control of the situation, a quiet but firm assertion of my will. Naturally, this sparked a new tirade from her. She accused me of not respecting her needs, claimed I was holding on to immature grudges, and ended with a dramatic statement: "You're going to have to accept my decision or do without me." I stayed calm and steady. My answer didn't change. "I'd rather not." I noticed a shift in her demeanor. Her confidence began to waver, and her determination showed cracks. Though she tried to appear firm, I could see hesitation creeping in. I didn't yell, cry, beg, or lose my composure. My calm resistance seemed to throw her off balance. She switched tactics and tried negotiation. She promised she wouldn't stay out all night on her first date and assured me she still loved me deeply. Yet again, my response was the same, unwavering. "I'd rather not do that." This simple phrase, repeated like a refrain, seemed to hold immense power. Each time I said it, it reinforced my position. Her approach changed once more. She shifted from being emotional to becoming a lawyer, a career she once dreamed of pursuing. I remembered how hard she had worked on her bar exam, and now she was trying to use her legal knowledge against me. What she didn't seem to recall was the prenuptial agreement we'd signed before our wedding, a contract she had taken very seriously at the time. It was drafted, notarized, and completely enforceable. She threatened me, saying that if I wanted a divorce, she would take my house, my money, my trust fund, and then move into my home to live as she pleased, sleeping with anyone she wanted while I paid for everything. Even then, I didn't lose my composure. My response was firm and simple: "I'd rather not." That night, she didn't come back, and in her absence, I began to reclaim myself. She didn't come home on Saturday afternoon or Saturday night. By the time Sunday evening rolled around, she finally returned, looking like a wild animal that had been caught in a storm. Her hair was a mess, her clothes were wrinkled, and her eyes held a desperate, almost panicked look. She dropped her bag on the patio near the grill, where I was cooking a sizzling ribeye. The smell of the steak mixed with the thick tension in the air, but I didn't even glance in her direction. My silence said more than words could. "I guess you'd rather not kiss me now," she muttered. I kept my focus on the grill, spreading marinade on the steak and turning the corn. Cooking gave me something familiar to concentrate on as I ignored the weight of her presence. "Would you mind cooking one of those for me?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with desperation. "I'd rather not," I replied evenly, still not looking up. "Of course. I should have known," she snapped. "Are you ever going to say anything else besides, 'I'd rather not'? It's getting old fast." I turned to respond, but she cut me off before I could speak. "No, don't. Just don't talk about it. I'm tired, okay? It's better if you don't do anything." "That's the punishment, isn't it?" she said bitterly. "It's going to be a long night because we need to talk about this. You're going to have to say something. Or is that it? Are you really going to just file for divorce?" Her voice cracked, and I could see the pain in her eyes. "We've been together for 7 years," she continued. 2 years dating in college, 3 years while I was in law school, and 2 years after that. 5 years of marriage. Are you really going to throw all of that away after 2 weekends? She paused, struggling with her emotions. I needed this. It's been eating at me for years. I thought I'd buried those feelings when I married you, but I didn't. I love you. I've always loved you, but I couldn't stop wondering about other men, how they'd compare, what it would feel like to be desired in a completely different way. I wanted to feel like the girl on the cover of a love story, the one with the rugged cowboy who takes what he wants, or the humble peasant swept away by the lord of the manor. I know it's selfish, but I couldn't help myself. You're an amazing husband, and I don't deserve you. I'm so sorry. Tears filled her eyes as she pleaded with me. Please, don't just stand there. Say something. I finished plating the steak and corn on a toasted bun, added a slice of grilled peach on top, and finally turned to look at her. "I prefer not to," I said quietly. "No, don't say that. Don't be so cold," she cried. "Yell at me, threaten me, hit me if you have to, but don't ignore me. I know I was wrong, and I'll do anything to fix this. Please, take me back." "I'd rather not," I repeated firmly. Things escalated after that. No, I didn't grill her a steak, though for a moment I considered burning one to a crisp for her. In the days that followed, the tension between us only grew stronger. She tried to talk to me, but every request she made was met with the same polite response. "I'd rather not." I told her, "I love you," but I wasn't sure I really meant it. Beyond that, I said nothing. She didn't give up at first. She kept trying to win me back, but I avoided her. I traveled for work, stayed out late, and only answered her questions with a nod or a shake of my head. I slept in a different room and ate at different times. Eventually, she gave up on the struggle. We never officially divorced, but she moved away to start over somewhere else. I think about ending things for good someday, but for now, I'd rather not.